Rising. Thanks for starting off your week with us here. We've got a fantastic news show planned for you. Hello, Brianna.
Hello, Robbie.
How's your weekend?
My weekend was okay. I suffered a little bit of a klutz injury.
Oh, no.
I knocked myself into a piece of furniture and I've been limping around. I think I might have sprained my toe, but I'm hoping for the best over the next couple of days.
I didn't see you walking around because a rare day you beat me to the studio this morning. This never happens.
So I limped out of the makeup chair to this chair quickly so you wouldn't have to see me flailing around.
Well, I hope you feel better.
How about yourself?
Yeah, it was a pretty good weekend. Played some Dungeons & Dragons.
I did see that on the timeline.
Always a highlight. You saw my Legend of Zelda outfit.
Yes.
Well, I won't. You can go looking for it on Twitter.
If you're not already following Robbie, please do for the pixel.
And I had not one, but two old best friends from like grade school, high school, college, randomly in town. So I got to see them. So that was very nice.
Okay, I'm still waiting for my invite to the D&D party.
Oh.
I'm happy to prepare, so I'm not a novice. I'll learn what I need to learn, but I'm ready to get in there.
I've been thinking of doing a session for the interested parties in the Hill Rising studio. We'll see if that happens. What's going on today?
Well, first up, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is suing YouTube and parent company Google, alleging the platforms have censored his free speech. The lawsuit, Kennedy's lawyers slam YouTube's, quote, overbroad and vague medical misinformation policies and accuse Google of acting as a, quote, state actor by bending to the Biden administration's pressure to silence people it does not want Americans to hear by removing his videos from YouTube. Kennedy has already received the support of ex-CEO Elon Musk.
Now, the lawsuit was filed in federal court in California last week. Google has yet to respond. However, a YouTube spokesperson told The Independent, quote, YouTube applies its community guidelines independently, transparently, and consistently, regardless of political viewpoint. These claims are meritless, and we look forward to refuting them. So, very interesting. Obviously, I think a lot of the moderation policies on social media platforms, including YouTube, have not been great with respect to certain political claims and certainly COVID claims. Our longtime viewers of the show know that we ourselves have run afoul of YouTube's guidelines before. We disagreed very strenuously with what happened in that case. Them saying that by not correcting, we played a clip of Trump where he makes the claim, the false claim that the election was stolen from him, but then he went on to say some other things, and we didn't specifically address the claim in that clip, and YouTube held that against us, and we vehemently deny that was fair at all to us. So we've gone back and forth with YouTube and the other platforms a lot of times. All that said, you can't, and other people have tried, so this isn't even this is pretty objective, you can't sue the company for making a moderation decision you don't like, because it's a private company. We can complain about the rules. We can say they're inconsistent with a kind of First Amendment ethos, but the First Amendment stops the government from taking away the free speech rights of others. So you can't. Yes. So this is like the wrong way to go about this.
Well, it does feel like RFK Jr. is trying to get at that when he talks about it being whatever the word to use, an unholy union of the government. And I mean, obviously, we've had a lot of reporting through Twitter files and Facebook files, et cetera, about the extent to which the government reached out to these companies and tried to influence the modern decisions that were being made. But I think it is going to be a pretty high bar to claim that the government had such power, control, and authority over these companies that it really was tantamount to the government suppressing the speech, as opposed to these companies, which are also sometimes making the same kind of decisions that the government wants to make or would want them to make, because they are financial institutions that are trying to be advertiser friendly. And generally speaking, the kind of things that the government wants and the kind of things that the advertisers want, there's an alignment of interest there. They don't want to be perceived as being fringe on vaccines or anti-Semitism or any other number of issues that people online have gotten in trouble for recently. People who are closer allies with Elon Musk and that cohort have gotten in trouble for of late. And so I don't expect him to have good outcomes in court over this. But part of this obviously is got some political valences as well, right?
Sure.
He's perceived as someone who's anti-establishment, as someone who's willing to fight the establishment, and a lawsuit like this will help to burnish that image.
And you can sue the government. You can make an argument that the government is violating your free speech rights by putting pressure on these companies to delete your content. That was what a coalition of Martin Kulldorff and Jay Bhattacharya and the New Civil Liberties Alliance were doing, and with the Republican attorneys general in Louisiana. That was the Louisiana decision. Okay, but it's a lawsuit, again, about Facebook and Twitter censorship, but they did not sue Facebook and Twitter. They sued the government. And they won on a lower court ruling, the Judge Doughty decision, which we've talked about a lot. And now we're going to see what a higher court has to say. That, absolutely, I'm in favor of that. I think that is the right way to go about this. But it's to me, it's actually very troubling to advance the theory that gets advanced here, where because the company was under pressure from the federal government, that makes them a state actor. That's a little bit like saying a victim of government censorship somehow becomes the government because they were victimized. Like, we wouldn't actually want that to be a norm. What if the government is doing something illegal and unconstitutional to your speech rights? Metaphorically putting a gun to your head and saying you have to do this, and they're violating the First Amendment. This argument would be, okay, since that happened to you, you now don't have rights anymore. You don't have free speech rights. That's a really backward way of thinking when gone to its logical extreme.
It's also so difficult to disentangle instances where the company might just happen to agree with the government. And then if you find evidence that the government attempted to express its preferences that happened to get effectuated because the company agreed, then does it again get grandfathered into being a state actor simply because there happens to be this alignment of interest? I agree. It's quite the overreach. Another interesting aspect of this is the media coverage of it. I was looking at one particular article in Rolling Stone, which has been notably unfavorable to RFK Jr., perhaps because of the debacle some years ago where they published a piece of his vaccine criticism and then took it down after there was a lot of public backlash. They characterized the video at issue here. It's a video in which he's talking about vaccines and some of the theories that we're all, I think, pretty familiar with by now. But they characterize his discussion of the Child Vaccine Act, which provides liability for the pharmaceutical companies so that they won't go out of business because there's just a percentage of childhood kids who are vaccinated who are going to have adverse effects. There's a fund that's set up for them, separate and apart from the companies, so that the companies won't be sued out of business. And RFK Jr.'s argument is that disincentivizes companies from lowering the negative side effects from vaccines, and the same way that liability always works. This article refers to that as, of course, medical misinformation, refers to him as veering into anti-Semitic and anti-Asian rhetoric, conspiracy theory and anti-vax views, and specifically says that approximately, the video they're talking about says, he peddled anti-vax views, including that the National Childhood Vaccine Act of 1986 caused diseases. I mean, you can disagree with whether or not you think that it poorly incentivizes pharmaceutical companies, but I don't think it has ever been part of his pitch that the act itself causes diseases. So it's another instance of people who I think lose credibility and what could be a legitimate criticism of him, substantive criticism of him, by doing things like this.
Rolling Stone has gone so far downhill, in my view, over a long period now. I mean, it was back in, I think 2014 was when the infamous false gang sexual assault article came out. But an organization that I think used to appreciate dissent and anti-establishment thinking is now just one of the most mainstream kind of re-upping the mainstream consensus on everything.
It does seem that way, and it's a shame, because I once had a great editor at Rolling Stone who was willing to take some risks, and these institutions evolve and change. I'm hopeful that they'll evolve in a more anti-establishment direction, but it doesn't seem like that's happening anytime soon. All right, stick with us. We've got a great lineup today. More Rising right after this.